Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive deep into AI regulation?
Always ready for a good deep dive.
We dove into some seriously fascinating stuff this time. Articles, research, the whole shebang. We even found this super insightful piece in Noble magazine by Alison Stanger, really gets into the nitty-gritty.
Stanger, always a good read. She really gets to the heart of the issue.
Okay, so big questions right off the bat. What are the different ways we can even think about regulating AI? And what's actually at stake here?
Right, exactly. And, Stanger, she even raises this question that I think will really stick with everyone. Can democracies, actually keep up with how fast AI is developing without having to, sacrifice individual freedoms?
Yeah, heavy stuff.
It's a question with a lot of urgency, too. We often think about, the threats from AI as something way off in the future, right?
Yeah, totally, like a Terminator situation.
Exactly, like some rogue AI taking over the world or whatever.
Cue the dramatic music.
But the thing is, AI is already impacting us, like right now, in ways that are actually making existing problems even worse.
Ooh, okay, that's interesting. So not just the future robot uprising, but stuff happening right now. Gotcha.
Right, right. Think about it.
Give me an example, because, okay, killer robots, I get it. But what kind of problems are you talking about?
Think about those customer service bots, right? The ones that, totally drive you up the wall.
Ugh, don't even get me started. I swear, I spent like an hour on the phone with one the other day, just trying to reset a password. It was like talking to a brick wall.
And Stanger uses that exact example to show how AI can actually erode human autonomy. It's not just about being annoyed. It's about feeling powerless.
Okay, I see what you mean. It's like you're stuck in this system, you can't get to a real person, you just want to scream.
And that frustration, that feeling of being trapped in this automated system, that's exactly what Stanger is highlighting. It's subtle, but it's a significant way AI chips away at our sense of control.
Whoa, okay, so it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts, kind of. Little things, but they add up.
Exactly. And here's another thing that I found kind of unsettling. Stanger points out that even the people creating these AI systems, sometimes they don't even fully understand how they work.
Wait, really? So how are we supposed to, regulate something that even its creators can't fully predict? That sounds kind of scary.
It is a bit, right? And Stanger, she uses this term alien intelligence to describe this aspect of AI. Think about it. We've built this insanely complex technology, but it operates in ways that sometimes seem beyond our comprehension.
Alien intelligence. Whoa. That makes it sound like we're not just dealing with a new gadget here, right? We're dealing with something that might operate outside of, our understanding. Makes the whole regulation thing even more important, huh?
Exactly. This isn't just about adapting to a new iPhone or something. This is something totally different.
Okay, so where do we even start with this whole regulation thing?
Well, I think we got to start by, acknowledging this inherent tension that exists. Right.
Okay, what kind of tension are we talking about?
Well, the U.S., we thrive on innovation, especially in the tech sector. But at the same time, we also need to safeguard our democratic values. And finding that balance between letting AI development flourish while also enacting the necessary regulations.
Right, so it's not about stifling innovation, but also not about letting things run wild.
Exactly. That's the central dilemma.
And we're seeing how politically charged this whole thing is, too, right? I mean, just look at what happened with Biden's executive order on ethical AI development overturned as soon as Trump got back in office.
Exactly, a prime example. And it's not just a U.S. thing either. It's playing out globally. Different approaches all over the place. Take the EU, for instance. Much more cautious. They're all about individual rights and data privacy. Big on things like the AI Act to GDPR.
The GDPR, that's the one that, gives you more control over your data online, right? With all those cookie pop-ups.
Exactly. So the EU, they're all about transparency and accountability, making sure people understand how their data is being used and that they have some say at all. Huge contrast to China's approach, which, they prioritize state control and they're using AI to, regulate their citizens' behavior.
So you've got these three big players, the U.S. trying to walk that tightrope between innovation and regulation, the EU all about individual rights, and then China with the state control angle. Kind of like a global AI tug of war, huh?
That's a great way to put it. It really is.
And, where does that leave the rest of the world? Is everyone just picking a side?
Well, Stanger actually has this really fascinating idea about how to tackle that. She proposes a dual-track system.
Okay, so 2 tracks. Lay it on me.
So on one track, you have the democracies working together, like what we're seeing with the U.S. and EU. They're trying to protect individual freedoms while also fostering, responsible AI development.
Okay, I'm following. So democracies are working together, trying to find that balance. What's the other track?
Simultaneously on that second track, those same democracies are engaging with the non-democracies, like China, to try to manage the existential risks posed by AI.
Existential risks like what? Spell it out for me.
Think AI-powered cyber warfare, for example. That's a big one.
Okay, yeah, now that's way scary stuff. So democracies on one track trying to do things the right way, I guess, and then on the other track, they're talking to the non-democracies, trying to prevent a full-blown AI arms race or whatever. Makes sense, I guess.
It's a bold idea for sure.
But can these totally different approaches really coexist? Like, are we headed towards this global AI divide where different values and regulations just like fracture the world even further?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, it makes you wonder what the long-term consequences will be for like everything, international relations, the future of technology, the whole enchilada.
And that actually brings us to another big piece of this AI regulation puzzle, at least here in the U.S. Section 230.
Okay, Section 230, ring a bell, but remind me, what's that all about?
This is the law that basically shields online platforms from being liable for the content their users post. It's been like a cornerstone of internet freedom. But now, with AI in the mix, people are starting to question its role.
Okay, so ELI 5, explain it like I'm 5. Section 230, it lets platforms like Facebook and Twitter off the hook for whatever people are posting on them, right?
Essentially, yeah, it was designed to, encourage online innovation and free speech. But now, with AI algorithms curating and amplifying content, some people argue that it's become a shield for harmful content to spread like wildfire.
I see, I see. So if some awful, terrible piece of content, something that, I don't know, incites violence or spreads crazy misinformation, goes viral because an algorithm decided to boost it, who's to blame? The person who posted it or the platform that let it spread?
That's the crux of it, right?
Tricky.
And this debate's heating up even more, especially with some folks calling for a total repeal of Section 230.
Wow. And if that happens, what then?
Well, it could reshape the online landscape big time. Platforms would have to completely rethink how they moderate content. They could even face legal repercussions for stuff that their algorithms promote. Could have a domino effect across the entire tech industry.
Whoa, okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here, but I feel like we've just barely scratched the surface. This is way more complex than I initially thought.
It is complex, but it's important, really important.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Regulating AI, it's not just about preventing some hypothetical robot apocalypse, right?
Right.
It's about protecting our democratic values right here, right now. It's about making sure this insanely powerful technology actually serves humanity and doesn't, erode the foundations of our society.
Definitely a lot to digest. I think we need to take a breather here before we go any further down this rabbit hole.
Agreed.
But when we come back, we'll get into the specifics of what's being proposed, the challenges of actually enforcing these regulations, and what you can do to make your voice heard in this whole thing.
Definitely tune in for that, folks. It's a conversation we all need to be a part of.
Okay, deep breaths, everyone. Last time we were talking about this idea of a global AI divide, and yeah, those potential consequences are kind of freaking me out, not gonna lie. But for now, let's zoom in on what's happening here in the good old US of I. We talked about some proposed legislation, right? Can we break that down a little bit more? What are we actually talking about here?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not just talking about, vague ideas floating around. There are some actual concrete proposals on the table.
Okay, give me an example. Hit me with it.
Well, take the Algorithmic Accountability Act, for example. It's aiming to tackle that whole issue of bias in AI systems. It would require companies to actually assess their algorithms for any potential discrimination.
Okay, so let me see if I'm getting this. If a company is using AI to help them with hiring or maybe for loan applications, they'd have to prove that their algorithm isn't, unfairly screening out certain groups of people?
Exactly, because, we know these algorithms can actually inherit and even amplify existing societal biases.
Right, right. It's like garbage in, garbage out, right. If you train an AI on biased data, it's going to spit out biased results. And that's not just some theoretical problem, it's having real consequences.
It really is. We've seen reports of these AI systems being used in all sorts of areas, like hiring, criminal justice even, that have led to some seriously discriminatory outcomes. So this act, it's trying to get ahead of that.
Makes sense. Force companies to double check their algorithms, make sure they're not perpetuating harmful biases. Good stuff. What else is on the table?
Well, there's another piece of legislation, the Deepfakes Accountability Act, that's addressing a totally different but equally concerning aspect of AI.
Deepfakes. Okay, those are the ones that can create those crazy realistic fake videos, right?
Yep, that's them.
I remember seeing this video. I think it was a politician saying something totally outrageous. Turned out it was completely fabricated. So yeah, deepfakes, that's scary stuff.
The potential for deepfakes to, deceive and manipulate is huge. I mean, they could really erode trust in the media, stir up chaos and division, even influence elections. So the Deepfakes Accountability Act is trying to, put some guardrails around how these synthetic media are created and spread, especially the ones that are intended to, cause harm or trick people.
Okay, but how do you even start to enforce something like that? Technology moves so fast. It's as soon as you catch one deepfake, 10 more pop up, it feels like trying to, I don't know, catch smoke or something.
It's a massive challenge, not just for deepfakes, but for AI regulation in general. It's a constant game of catch-up. AI is evolving all the time, and regulators are scrambling to, adapt the existing legal frameworks to this rapidly changing landscape. It's tough.
Makes you wonder if our current laws are even, equipped to handle this kind of technology. Do we need to just, rip it all up and start over? Come up with a whole new approach to regulation?
Yeah, it's a big question that lawmakers and legal scholars are wrestling with right now. Some folks argue that the existing frameworks, with some tweaks here and there, can work for AI. But others think we need completely new legal paradigms to address the unique challenges AI brings to the table.
And that brings us back to that whole tension we were talking about before, right? Trying to balance innovation with regulation. I mean, the U.S., we're known for pushing the boundaries in tech development, but that also comes with a responsibility, right? We got to make sure innovation doesn't come at the cost of, human well-being or our democratic values.
Exactly. And that responsibility, it doesn't just stop with the policymakers either. We as individuals, we've got a role to play too, right?
Okay, I like where we're going with this. So what can we actually do? It all feels so big and overwhelming. I feel like I'm just one tiny cog in this giant machine.
You're not powerless. First and foremost, become informed. The more you understand about AI and its potential impact, the better equipped you'll be to engage in these critical conversations. Don't shy away from learning about the issues, the proposed legislation, the different viewpoints out there.
Right, because this isn't just some abstract debate happening in some ivory tower. It directly impacts our lives, our communities, our future, the whole 9 yards.
It does. And once you're informed, you can start to advocate for change. You can support organizations that are pushing for ethical AI development. You can contact your elected officials. You can make your voice heard in the public discourse.
We can also vote with our wallets, right? As consumers, we can support companies that are developing AI responsibly, using it for, good instead of evil.
Absolutely. Consumer pressure can be a powerful force for change. Choosing to support companies that are aligned with our values, that sends a strong message.
So we can educate ourselves, advocate for change, be mindful consumers. Got it. But what about the bigger picture, the global one? How do we navigate all those differences in approaches we were talking about? The US, the EU, China, everyone doing their own thing.
Right. Well, remember Steiner's idea of a dual-track system. While it's definitely a good starting point, it requires a level of international cooperation that honestly can feel kind of impossible right now.
Yeah, it does feel like everyone's retreating into their own corners, and global cooperation is harder and harder to come by these days.
It's true. Those political tensions make collaboration really challenging. But the fact is, the challenges posed by AI, they don't stop at national borders, right?
True.
Things like cybersecurity, misinformation, potential economic disruptions. These are all issues that demand global solutions. We can't just go it alone.
Okay, so we got to find a way to work together, even when it's tough, even when we don't see eye to eye on everything. But how? Where do we even begin to bridge these massive divides?
It starts with finding common ground on some fundamental principles, things like human rights, transparency, accountability. It means building trust and fostering dialogue, even with countries that have very different values and political systems. And this is where, organizations like the UN and other international bodies, they can play a critical role.
Sounds like a tall order, especially with the way things are right now, politically speaking. But I guess the alternative is just letting those divides keep growing, and that doesn't seem like a very good option either. We're all kind of in this together, whether we like it or not.
Exactly. We can't just stick our heads in the sand and hope this all magically works itself out. We need to be active participants in shaping the future of AI. The decisions we make today, both individually and as a global community, they're going to determine what happens with this technology and how it impacts our world.
This has been a lot to take in. I feel like we've only just started to scratch the surface of this whole thing.
We have.
Before we jump into the final part of our deep dive, I think we need a minute to let this all sink in.
I agree.
Join us next time as we explore some potential solutions and really try to imagine what a future with AI could look like. The good, the bad, and the truly mind-blowing.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Okay, so we're back. And I gotta say, all this talk about AI regulation, it's been pretty heavy. But I'm kind of ready to shift gears a little bit.
Sounds good to me.
We've talked about all the challenges, the different approaches, the potential pitfalls. But what about the possibilities, what does a positive future with AI actually look like? Paint me a picture.
Well, I think that's a question that should get us all excited, honestly. Imagine AI helping us tackle some of the biggest problems humanity's facing, like climate change, poverty, disease.
Okay, now that's the kind of future I'm talking about. AI-powered clean energy solutions, personalized medicine tailored to your specific DNA. That's game changer stuff right there.
Exactly. And we can't forget about AI's potential to actually enhance our creativity, too. I mean, we're already seeing AI generating art and music.
Yeah, I've seen some of that stuff. It's pretty wild.
So imagine a world where AI is actually collaborating with human artists, pushing the boundaries of creative expression in ways we can't even, like, wrap our heads around yet.
Okay, now my mind is officially blown. AI composing symphonies, painting masterpieces, that's next level. But let's be real for a sec. There are some, valid concerns too. Like, what happens to jobs when AI can automate so many tasks? I keep seeing those headlines about robots taking over the workforce, and it's kind of freaking me out.
Oh, yeah, that automation anxiety, it's understandable. It's a fear that's been around forever, and AI definitely amps it up. But I think it's more nuanced than just, like, robots versus humans. It's not necessarily about replacement, but about transformation.
Okay, so maybe it's not that AI will literally take our jobs, but our jobs will change, like what we do, how we work, the skills we need. All that stuff will evolve as AI becomes more integrated into different industries.
Exactly. Some jobs will definitely be automated. There's no way around that. But new jobs will emerge, too. Jobs that require uniquely human skills, creativity, critical thinking, complex problem solving, emotional intelligence, stuff that AI just isn't equipped to handle.
That makes sense. So it's not about resisting change, it's about adapting and evolving alongside technology. We'll need to learn new skills, embrace lifelong learning, be prepared for a job market that's constantly shifting.
Right, and that's where education and training becomes so crucial. We need to make sure people have the tools and knowledge they need to thrive in this AI-powered world. And it's not just about technical skills, it's about like adaptability, critical thinking, the ability to actually collaborate effectively with AI systems.
This kind of brings us back to a question that's been woven through this whole conversation. Who's ultimately responsible for making sure AI benefits everyone, not just a select few? How do we prevent AI from making existing inequalities worse or even creating new ones?
Yeah, that is the million-dollar question, and there's no simple answer. It's going to take a joint effort from governments, corporations, researchers, citizens. We need clear ethical guidelines, robust regulatory frameworks that can actually keep up with how fast technology is moving, and some way to hold those in power accountable.
And that's where that public discourse we keep coming back to, that's where it becomes so important. We need to be having these conversations, not just in, academic circles or government meetings, but in our everyday lives, in our communities, at our dinner tables.
Absolutely. The future of AI isn't some predetermined thing. It's something that we're actively shaping right now through the choices we make, the conversations we have, the actions you take.
It's a little daunting when you put it that way. It's like we're writing the rules for a technology that has the potential to completely reshape our world.
It is daunting, but it's also incredibly empowering, right? We have this incredible opportunity to harness this technology for good, use it to solve problems, make our lives better, create a more just and equitable world.
So where do we go from here? What's the next step for anyone listening who wants to be part of this, who wants to help shape the future of AI?
Well, the first step, like we've talked about, is to stay informed. Keep learning, keep asking questions, stay engaged with what's happening. Support organizations that are fighting for responsible AI development. Make your voice heard by reaching out to your elected officials.
And don't underestimate the power of your choices as a consumer either. Support companies that share your values and are using AI in a way that benefits society as a whole. Every decision we make, big or small, it all adds up.
We're at a pivotal moment. The decisions we make today, they're going to determine whether AI empowers humanity or actually erodes the very foundations of our society. It's a responsibility that we all share.
That's a powerful way to put it. We started this whole deep dive just wanting to wrap our heads around AI regulation, and we've ended up contemplating the future of humanity. I guess it all ties together, huh?
It really does. The way we choose to regulate, develop, and use AI, it's going to have a profound impact on the course of human history. There's no way around it.
This has been an incredible journey, and I hope everyone listening feels as informed and, dare I say, inspired as I do. We've covered a lot, but I think it's safe to say this conversation is far from over. It's just the beginning.
I think you're right about that. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We encourage you to keep exploring these issues, keep having these conversations, and be an active participant in shaping the future of AI.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. The future is in our hands.